We're now joined by Hall of Fame columnist John McClain, 365 Sports. Craig Smoke, David Smoke here. And John, sorry we got you on a little bit later than normal. Lee Trevino was on with us to start the 5 o'clock hour. And I think I asked like 3 questions and just let Lee just go.
I'm surprised you had to answer any question. I remember when he first got really good on the PGA Tour, and I was working at the Tribune Herald while I was going to Baylor, and I don't remember 73, 4, or 5. But he came to town, and he was a hoot. You know, besides being a great golfer, he was a great personality. There haven't been many personalities in golf who could top Lee Trevino.
Yeah, he is special, no question about it.
Well, John, a newsworthy day in the NFL. Some decisions being made on franchise tags and a couple of quarterbacks. I guess start with the deal that has happened with the New York Giants as they agree to terms with Daniel Jones on a new contract and also choose to non-exclusive franchise tag Saquon Barkley, but under the perception that they will eventually sign him to a new deal as well. But what are your thoughts on the Giants and Daniel Jones making it long-term?
Well, first of all, Craig, Jones has had one good year, not a great year, a good year. And if you say, what did Daniel Jones do best for the Giants last season when they made a miraculous turnaround under Brian Dable in his first season, you say he didn't turn the ball over. And that's important, and that's great, but they need to get him some weapons at wide receiver. And Saquon Barkley, he's been in the league 5 years. His best season was last season, the last year of his contract. They didn't pick up the fifth-year option on either one of those guys. And usually you don't pick that fifth-year option up, that guy's gone because he's insulted. So they gave Jones $40 million a year. Whew, boy, after one good season, and he's going to be able to sign more contracts if he's good. And Saquon Barkley, I don't see anybody trying to sign a running back to a long-term deal going into his 6th season. And but I expect both of them to be back. And everybody is going crazy because there's not a run on Lamar Jackson. And the reason there's not, people don't want to give a guaranteed contract like Cleveland gave to Deshaun Watson. Because say you give a guaranteed contract and the Ravens match it. And then you set a precedent with your players. And they're like, well, you were going to give him one. Why are you not giving me one? It can create some bad blood. And I know it's sacrilegious to point out that Lamar Jackson's been hurt a lot the last 2 years, and he's won one playoff game. People get so mad when you say that, but those are facts. And if they take 2 ones and say some team does give him 230 or more million guaranteed, which I just don't see it. But if they do, and agents are pushing for it, the union's pushing for it, the union is claiming collusion because everybody's trying to stay away from guaranteed contracts. And I'd be surprised if he gets one. And if he gets one that the Ravens think is reasonable, then they'll just keep him, sign him to that contract, and say thank you to that team because they got something done they were unable to do. And I do believe he needs an agent. I've said that all along. He's got the union helping him. He's got a couple financial guys. But that's not the same as having a legitimate agent negotiating for your future.
Yeah, how many other players, and you could help jog my memory, how many other players have done this without an agent?
When Laramie Tunsil signed his extension with the Texans, it made him the highest paid lineman in history. He didn't have an agent. And everybody's like, wow, Laramie's negotiated that deal. No. He had 3 financial advisors. He paid them by the hour, not a percentage of his contract. Now he's trying to get another extension. I'm assuming he'll use them again. And the union will help. You know, the union has people there that can help you. And it's not everybody does that. You know, there's some that do, but not many. Because you're talking about money that is so can take care of you for life, your kids for life, their kids for life. So you need expertise. You wouldn't try to do your taxes by yourself. You don't make investments without somebody helping you. So why would you negotiate a $100 million contract or in Lamar Jackson's place over $200 million contract without help?
John, other quarterback dominoes falling. Geno Smith re-signing with Seattle, a brand new big deal for him. I don't know. I can't dive as deep in the memory banks as you can, but you know, for a sport and an era that we live in now where everything's just kind of expected right away and we don't have a whole lot of patience. I mean, if you look at Geno Smith's career from when it started all the way till almost 10 years later to where he is now fresh off this career year, do you have anything that's comparable to that?
Boy, I was thinking about Rich Gannon. Rich Gannon was 37 years old when he went to the Raiders, was voted MVP, and they went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Buccaneers. It's rare that a guy can do that. Now, Geno Smith's always been a good guy. He's always been a backup. When Pete Carroll decided to cast his lot with him and trade Russell Wilson, I thought Pete Carroll was nuts. And he saw something in him, and he rewarded him. Now, do they think he's going to be there for the next 5 years? Who knows? There's still teams with veteran quarterbacks who might draft one. I think there's going to be 5 go in the first round, including Tennessee's Hendon Hooker, who's coming off ACL surgery, and he's 25 years old. But if he hadn't been hurt, people would be talking about him right up there with the others. And so just because Seattle has the 5th overall pick, and they proved they'll take anybody no matter what their baggage is. And if Jalen Carter were to drop to them, I could see them taking him at 5.
Your thoughts about Derek Carr to New Orleans?
Good for Derek Carr. A lot of people are critical of him, saying he could have got more money. If he's happy, and then what does it matter? He's made a lot of money. If he wanted to go there and he's getting $100 million guaranteed, what are people complaining about? You know, he automatically makes them the favorite in the NFC South until we see where the other dominoes fall. But I'm happy for him. And it was so smart of him to utilize that no trade clause because he knew he was going to make more in a multi-year deal than he was going to make in his $40 million base salary with the Raiders.
So, John, you just mentioned there 5 quarterbacks potentially going to the first round. So that'd be Young, Stroud, Levis, Richardson, and Hooker, right?
Right.
What was that the big takeaway for you from the combine? Was just the speculation about the quarterbacks? I know there's a lot of like Anthony Richardson buzz. What stood out to you, I guess, apart from that, or was that kind of your main takeaway from last week?
Greg, I'm guessing that people that were ooh and eyeing over Anthony Richardson hadn't paid any attention to him because everybody knew he had great size, great arm, great mobility, and was a great athlete. So what he did didn't surprise me at all. I do weekly shows in Nashville and Knoxville, and they watched Richardson play this year, and they said, hey, you got to pump the brakes on this guy. All NFL people will tell you that because he's inexperienced and he's not accurate. Now, you can get the experience, but, man, you better have somebody who can coach him, a system that fits his talent, and an owner who's patient and doesn't fire everybody after 2 years. I think the 2 best places for him are the Raiders with Josh McDaniels, former offensive coordinator. He's got 4 years left on his contract. And Frank Reich going into first year, 5-year contract with the Panthers, another former offensive coordinator. I think Anthony Richardson, or really any quarterback, would be lucky to be able to be developed by those guys, and especially a rookie, not a veteran like, say, Derek Carr, who had played one way his entire career, and then Josh McDaniels wanted to change him, and it backfired. He didn't play well. Now he's happy, and he's going to New Orleans, be reunited with Dennis Allen, who was the defensive coordinator with the Raiders, and he's happy. And the Raiders now, they're in a position, they got to re-sign Jarrett Stidham or sign Jimmy Garoppolo or both, or do everything they can to get one of those other prospects with the 7th overall pick.
John, I know you had a piece on GallerySports.com and one of various other pieces, but about Bijan. And I know that there's that kind of theme right now about running backs and taking them high, but is he a guy that could potentially break the mold, or you still see him being a guy that, no matter how unanimous it is of ungodly talented he is, that's just a spot where the guys aren't going that high anymore?
He's the only high pick who has no blemishes, not even a pimple, because I stood close enough to see. and he was listed at 6'2", 222 at UT. He's 5'11" and 215. He ran a 4.46. We all know he's a great receiver. He's tough. He's a great guy, great character. In the old days, he'd have gone in the top 5. He has top 5 ability. You know, a lot of the guys ahead of him have issues, have questions, like Jalen Carter's character. Yeah. Even Will Anderson Jr. is light in the butt for a guy that's going to be rushing the quarterback all the time. All the quarterbacks have issues, but there's no issue with Bijan Robinson. I think Philadelphia's got Miles Sanders, a veteran back who rushed for more than 1,300 yards, and they love to rush the ball. I'm going to, when I start doing mock drafts this week, I'm going to have him going to Philadelphia, but he is certainly worthy of going higher.
What was that Jalen Carter buzz like at the Combine whenever that story came down?
I'll tell you, Craig, he was supposed to speak at 10:30 in the area where the podiums are lined up. And people got there early because they knew there was going to be a big crowd. The guy that works with me at Gallery Sports, shoots videos, Christian Lewis, he got there 45 minutes early so he could be right in front of the podium and shoot it. I'm standing in the back about 20 minutes before he's supposed to start, and I get a text from Shireen Williams, my good friend. You guys know her very well.
Yep.
Saying, have you seen the Jalen Carter story? So I immediately Google it and see the story in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And I go up to Christian. I fight my way in there and say, he ain't coming. And everybody's, what? I said, look at your phones. And then everybody did. And no, people still wouldn't leave. They were hoping he would come out. And gradually, they moved away. And whoever the next guy was that came up there, everybody just left him when he walked up to the podium. I felt terrible for him. But Carter came back after he had the arrest warrant out for him. And this story could be very serious if his racing contributed to the wreck that killed 2 people. And he'll have the best attorney that money can buy. He's got a great agent, Drew Rosenhaus, and he's a great talent. So I can see the Bears, and this is something nobody's considering. Bears have the first overall pick. They think if they trade down with Indianapolis to 4, they can get Carter and they can get Will Anderson. They know at 3, Arizona's going to take one of them. Well, if they don't think Carter is worth that high pick anymore because of the character issues, they better stay at 1 and take Will Anderson, not try to get too cute, unless they like somebody else, like, say, Tyree Wilson from Tech. But you can't get too cute when you're trying to get the maximum amount of trades. And the Carter thing, he'll still get drafted. We've seen guys, Laramie Tunsil with the bong, smoking a bong with a gas mask. Story in the New York Times, Warren Sapp did cocaine. There's been all kinds of things through the years that dropped guys down. I remember one year, a player had a wreck the night before, and his agent didn't tell anybody. Now, he should have let the NFL know, my client had a wreck. He's hurt. We don't know the extent. So somebody drafted him, and then they found out he had a wreck. You talk about mad because he's hurt. I don't think that guy ever did anything, but they're lucky that this happened with Carter now instead of a couple of days before the draft. There's going to be a whole lot of investigating going on by NFL teams who have former FBI agents, CIA, all these people on their staff to investigate. And it's amazing they do that, and they still make so many mistakes.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes those NFL guys who go investigate seem like they get the information sometimes even deeper than law enforcement. It's like they know what they're doing. John, man, we appreciate you. Thanks for being patient with us today. Astros, we're not anywhere near the start of the season, but off kind of just what's been the reaction to the new pitch clock and the timer and all that? What's been the reaction from the Astros' point of view?
There have been some violations, as everybody knew there would. There's going to be some early in the regular season. Right now, players have left their teams to go to the World Baseball Classic. I think the Astros have 13 players in that. And so that, I think, I'm not sure if it started today or tomorrow, but it's coming up pretty soon.
Tonight,
it's all tonight going to be all over TV. And they've got a bunch of players on a bunch of different teams like the U.S., Venezuela, Dominican Republic, Mexico. And so I didn't watch it the last time, but I'm going to this time because there was such buzz about it when I was at spring training among the players.
Yeah, John, because of the way it's spread out all over, the actual first game is going to be tonight at 10 o'clock. And then they'll have games at like 7 in the morning and all day long. So, yeah, if you're a baseball fan, it's going to be a real treat just seeing baseball all over the place. But, yeah, it should be a lot of fun.
Let me tell you guys one more thing before you go. Sick 'em Bears. I'm glad they're playing Iowa State again after that putrid performance.
I think
they're going to whip. They're going to whip up on Iowa State.
You might be the only one after they've gotten thumped by them twice. John, thank you, buddy. Appreciate your time as always.
Thank you.
There you go, John McClain, GallerySports.com, 610 in Houston, and on numerous radio stations around the country. We're one of them and have been blessed to